These are the results that we've been generating on Autopilot for our e-commerce brand. Most founders that I speak with are doing really the same thing. They're running Facebook ads, they're scaling, trying to get new customers with acquisition, they're optimizing their funnels, improving their CRO, and that's not wrong to focus on, but here's what I see that's been happening over the course of the last few years, and that is that most brands are leaving 30 to 40% of their revenue on the table through abandoned carts, checkouts, and other automation flows that you can utilize things with SMS and help capture more of the cold traffic that you're already spending a lot of money on. And so really the math here is backwards. You have to think about this a little bit differently, because if you're spending more on the front end to acquire a new customer and they add to cart, they get captured on your website, they're basically walking away without you having the ability to close them on the deal, follow up with them, or have any sort of retention mechanism on that cold traffic. When we've utilized this tool, it's been something that has been a huge lift for us as we've scaled, as we've driven more traffic to our website, and we barely even have to touch it at all. It kind of just runs in the background. So let's dive in and talk a little about what this entails and how you can utilize this for your business if you're looking to generate more revenue on Autopilot in 2026. So really, when it comes to cold traffic, right? Cold traffic is a great and important thing in the business to focus on, because ultimately that's going to allow us to grow the brand, right? We can only get so much money out of our existing customers and increasing our LTV and our AOV over time, where it becomes very, very important for us to acquire new customers. And so the way we can think about this is that every potential new customer that comes in, are we doing everything that we can to get them to the purchase? And most of the time the answer is we're not doing enough. And so you're basically paying the $50, maybe $100 to acquire a customer, maybe $150, maybe it's like 10 or 20, depending on like what platform you're on and how low your CPA is. And they're basically not being captured in the correct way when you're not able to retarget them after they add to cart, right? Obviously, we know that the pixel is going to retarget them with ads, but really, like, there's other things that we can be doing here in this particular part of the process. And the brands that are generating more of the revenue aren't necessarily the ones that are the best at getting the existing customers or the new customers, but they're the ones who are actually automating a lot of their processes to lead their customers or potential customers down a set of actions and triggers that ultimately get them to purchase that feel very personalized, right? Because customer journey is a very, very core part of this whole process. And that is how we can optimize and make people feel that we are actually there to help get them to what they actually want to do, which is make a decision to purchase, which is going to help them with their problems or give them something that's going to benefit or add value to their lives in some way. So the first core principle that we want to dive into is that recovery revenue is cheaper than the acquisition revenue. And this is like the core point I think, I've been alluding to, is that our cost per acquisition is going to continue to increase over the years, right? We know that it's going to get more and more expensive to advertise and get new customers. But when it comes to like cost for recovery, right? We're talking about abandoned checkout recovery. We're talking about other flows. We can capture information, whether it's opting on the website, they're putting the information on the checkout page. We're able to get their opt-in, all compliant, of course, to be able to target them again and send something to them after the fact, and then be able to utilize AI to have real conversational messages back and forth with them without you having to actually do it, right? So your customers or potential customers are having conversations with AI to help move towards the actual sale. And a lot of times that we see a lot of these deals actually end up purchasing because of those conversations that happen. And this is just one of the many different things that you can do to automate that back end for the business. It's honestly just very easy money. Like, I don't say that to, say that, this is like the most amazing thing ever, or to overhype it, but like, I'm being serious. Like, we've installed this for our brand, as you saw the results a little earlier in the video. That is what is being done without barely any work that's being put into it, right? Now, obviously we want to monitor it, obviously we want to optimize, improve click-through rates, improve messages and such like that. But with the platform like TxtCart, it makes it very easy because a lot of templates that are proven to get sales. You can just integrate those and you'll generally see a huge lift in revenue, right? Most of the brands, they optimize the wrong part of the funnel in the beginning. Because like, whether you're a 6, 7, 8, multi-8-figure brand, right? if you can do more on that back end portion and there's more that you can do in a nurturing standpoint, it's going to be less expensive for you to do that than to do what you do on the front end. So every abandoned cart is someone who's already decided to buy. You just didn't close them, right? So this is going to be a situation where, a lot of times there's objections that people have, right, on any sales call. Now, in the context of e-commerce, right, you're trying to convince people to buy. You've got to overcome all their objections or overcome all the questions that they have, right? And this is what this abandoned cart automated flow can actually do for you. Recovering existing intent costs 1/10 of creating new intent through ads, right? So, maybe it's not exactly 1/10, but the point here is that it's so much easier to recover people who have intent to buy and who are familiar with you than people who aren't. Now, we always know that brand awareness and new customers are going to be a core part of our strategy, right? But we need to be able to squeeze more out of the lemon to get more revenue coming in. The highest converting traffic you'll ever get is people who already added to cart. That's just the facts, right? Because they have more intent to buy than someone who has cold traffic. And so if we're not doing something after this new acquisition, which we're so focused on in the ads, right? Making unaware ads, attracting more people to click to the website, we're not doing more after they click and we're nurturing them, then we're missing out on a lot of revenue that could be coming in. The next principle that I want to get into is the broadcast messaging, which is basically just kind of the manual messaging that you can send. It doesn't recover the revenue, the conversions do, right? So the conversions are that happen, when we're talking about in the context of having an automated flow for abandoned cart with SMS specifically, it's also a personalized device, right? So most people are seeing their text messages over their emails. You obviously have an email flow set up, but this allows you to set something up where you can actually have a conversation with the customer that you don't have to necessarily be involved in. And it personalizes it very, very well. It also allows you to leverage AI. And also, the customer engagement, it happens in real time. So, if you have a couple of calls, or you're out, or you're on vacation, or you're traveling, this AI will communicate, almost instantaneously or within a short period of time. Whereas you might not be able to even get to that customer for, several hours, or maybe even a couple of days, right? Because you have so much else on your plate. And so it really does make it really easy where you have this customer support sales agent that works for you 24/7 to help you close more sales. That's really what it does. So people aren't buying from, say, the newsletters or your emails, but they're buying when their objections are overcome, their questions get answered, and ultimately they can just feel like it's a personalized experience with the brand. That means a lot to potential customers. And, when we send traditional 10% off emails and texts, for example, they sometimes get ignored because honestly, a lot of those emails, if the discount isn't deep enough, if the customer's been trained to only buy from discounts, then that's also not training them in a very good way to end up buying the products because of the value they necessarily have. They may be hunting for a discount and then knowing that you're always going to discount the product, and it's not really helping them overcome their objections on the full price or the higher price. It's kind of just getting them in by just saying hey, this is low price, create scarcity and whatnot. So it's better to get sales when you overcome their objections and help them understand the value of the product than it is to just discount just to get them to buy, because that's the behavior they're going to learn with you over time, which is going to decrease your LTV and your AOV over time and hurt the business from a profitable standpoint. The conversational flows that are in there to ask things like, what's stopping you? And, is there anything that I can help you with? Is there a particular product you're looking at? And they're able to respond in real time, will convert higher because there's more relevance, right? Think about this, right? If you are going and searching for a product and you're kind of in the midst of buying something and you get distracted with a text, or you got to go, you got to leave, or, you get called in for your appointment, or you have to go and make a dinner or make a meal, or whatever the case may be, right? You get distracted, you forget that you were going through that process. And so if you're able to follow up quickly through a text, the first thing that people text after they've done something is, well, the first thing they do after they've done an activity or something that distracted them is go back to their phone, right? And as soon as they open their phone, they're going to see a text that you got from, the brand that you were just looking at, which is a perfect reminder. And then you get an opportunity to actually talk with the actual conversational AI, which is a great way to kind of move them towards sale, overcome those objections, and then get them to buy, right? Core principle 3, right? The post-purchase intent beats cold traffic by 10x. And what I mean by this is, again, we understand cold, warm, and hot traffic, right? We understand that we need to move cold traffic, unaware people, to understand what their problem is, to understand how the solution is solved, or how the solution is provided, or what solutions there are, and then how our product fits within that solution to help them in their lives in some way or another, alleviate pain, right? Or give them entertainment or add value in some way. And so the post-purchase intent, or the best revenue, isn't necessarily new revenue. While important, it's actually finishing what you started. It's getting that sale. And in addition to that, there's more that you can do after that first initial purchase using conversational AI to create flows that have been introduced very, very recently to TxtCart. Is you can create flows within SMS that you might typically see in email, but because SMS has a much higher view rate and also response rate, that it increases your revenue generated from those particular flows, right? Where email, may generate a small fraction, SMS can be a huge, huge factor in being able to generate more revenue and drive more revenue, right? So not all traffic is equal. So we don't want to treat it that way. Someone obviously in your checkout is more likely, has higher intent, who clicked on an ad, is going to buy. The cart abandoners, the post-purchase customers, and the repeat buyers are your actual revenue engine. So again, we're talking about a portion of this on the back end, but again, I'm just trying to illustrate and get through your mind and focus on if you've been why is our revenue going down right now? You're looking at 2026 and it isn't going exactly the way that you want it to. Looking at what you can do after the sale is going to be a higher lift, lower hanging fruit than trying to get new customers and figure out why are we not getting new customers on Google or Meta or TikTok, right? What is it? What are we doing wrong, right? If you focus more on this other side of it, you can boost revenue and get more out of what you have. Not to say that you don't need to solve your new customer questions and getting more new customers, but this can be a great way to kind of facilitate more profitability within the customers and the potential customers that you have to lift that revenue, make you more profitable. And if your automation is just sending the same message to everyone, typically we do this with our broadcast messages and our manual messages. You're not really tailoring anything to their specific customer journey, and that's going to affect conversion rate. So setting up, there's a whole slew of flows, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 different flows you can set up within TxtCart that allow you to kind of automate things and make things a lot easier for you and the business to really touch base with those customers at certain touch points in their customer journey. Principle number 4, automation does not mean robotic. So we live in a world where automation and AI has come a long, long way. And it's only going to get more efficient and it's only going to get better to the point where it's going to get to a point where we clearly are not going to be able to tell the difference between AI and what is real, right? Which is kind of concerning in a way, right? But we also know that automation doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to feel cold. It can come from a place of using AI-powered conversational SMS in the context of this conversation that handles the objections, it answers the question, it recommends products all around the clock, right? Where you might be busy, you might have other things to worry about. This can do it for you, right? So the key really here is having response logic. So the response logic is built into the platform. So it feels like you're actually texting someone that might be working at the store or working, you might be messing customer service rep. And it's not just a random AI bot that has a bunch of preset questions that it's asking you. And then you keep asking I want to talk to a real person. I want to talk to a real person. I want to talk to a real person, right? We've all had that experience in recent years, right? This is actually a real conversation that's happening. It's not just some random AI multi-choice question and you can never get the answer because they just keep redirecting you to the FAQs page, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about real conversations. So when it's done right, the customers don't know or care that it's automated. All they know is that they got the help, they got their questions answered. That's really what matters at the end of the day. And you only have so much time, your team only has so much time. You can't scale yourself, but you can scale the conversations using a tool like this, and it doesn't need to be robotic. Now, core principle number 5 that I wanted to touch on is the channel control matters more than you think. So we know with email and SMS, there's 2 different deliverability, right? We know that email deliverability is lower than SMS deliverability. We also know that email open rates is less than SMS, and that's because we live in a world where SMS is just so much more personal. Maybe at some point in the next 5, 10, 15 years, it becomes obsolete. But at this point, it is the best channel for you to market your products and to nurture your customers and your potential customers through. And so that really matters. So SMS delivery is really guaranteed, and email delivery, more and more we see a lot of emails going to spam, right? There's obviously certain things you could do to increase the deliverability rate, but with SMS, if you do it right and you're compliant, which is what TxtCart is all about, the deliverability rate's going to be a lot higher. So SMS has about a 98% open rate and about a 95% read within about 3 minutes. So a lot of people like seeing notifications, opening up, looking at it, and there's really no spam folder. There is like a spam now in like your messages on iPhone. I'm not sure if that's on Android, but typically you have good deliverability with SMS, especially when you use a platform like TxtCart that you get deliverability right into your primary inbox on SMS. And you're ultimately not getting spam with people aren't flooding their SMS and not reading certain texts, right? Most people read all their texts. And so your recovery system depends on just email. You're trusting the channel that's actively getting worse. So we're getting lower open rates on email, right? The younger generation not opening emails as much as the older generation do. And so SMS is a place you want to put your focus, especially when you work with like millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, right? And Gen Alpha. Like these are people who don't really use email anymore. And this is a great way for you to utilize that. When it comes to kind of what TxtCart is really all about, we've just launched 4.0 of TxtCart, which gives you conversational AI SMS that runs for you. There's flows that have been added, which are incredible. If you haven't seen the last video, I'll link that right here. Go and check that video out because that goes overview of the flows and how they work and function. It's absolutely game changing for your brand. And we've been already utilizing it and generating a lot more revenue with the business. But you get $1,000 of free SMS credits if you sign up for TxtCart, 14-day free trial with no credit card required. Just see if it works for your brand. And trust me, like when we started using TxtCart, it was game changing for us. It really, really helped us to generate more revenue for the business. And it's a great tool that you need to start utilizing for your company. So hopefully it's been helpful. Appreciate you watching this video. I hope that you've gotten a lot of value from this. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Watch this video next, and I'll see you in the next one.